Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Arizona Senate President Warren Peterson. We've got bipartisan group of members from both the House and the Senate. We're going to hear from Senator Shawna Bullock, Representative Leo Biasucci, Representative Conta Cruz, and former Senator Ana Hernandez will all be providing comments for us. We're also joined by several Valley citizens who will be sharing their personal stories. Lindsay Reininger, a local realtor, and Sharice Dickerson, single mom of 3. Seems like deja vu, but here we are again, sounding an alarm, because for the first time in Arizona history, Arizona is now a place where housing is no longer affordable. Right now, the median income for Arizona households ranges between $60,000 and $70,000. And unfortunately, since 2020, the median Arizona home price has skyrocketed more than 50% and sits at $450,000. This means many of our teachers, police officers, firefighters, and other essential workers who keep our state running can't afford to purchase a home within the communities they're serving. You used to be able to purchase a home on a single income. Today, people are juggling multiple jobs and still can't buy a house. The American dream has become unattainable, and government is the problem. We have an issue of supply and demand. We need to bring prices down. But builders are being hit with regulatory hurdles imposed by cities and towns. As a result, homes built 20 years ago, as we're driving around, driving here today, you guys passed lots of homes that you could build 20 years ago. They're now illegal to be built today. They were okay for our parents, for our grandparents, but for some reason, our kids can't buy these homes. It's an absolute bureaucratic nightmare. We've also, adding fuel to the fire, the governor has put a moratorium on home building in 2 of the fastest growing areas in Arizona, just further reducing the amount of supply we have and increasing the prices of homes. Even with bipartisan support, we've seen the governor veto some of this legislation, but this is a common sense solution. This is what the citizens of Arizona wants. This is what both parties want. And so we're optimistic and hopeful the governor will do the right thing this year and sign these legislation into law. So with that, I'm going to bring Senator Bullock up here to discuss this bipartisan legislation.
Great. Thank you, Senator President Peterson. For the record, my name is Shawna Bullock. I am a state senator in District 2, and I just wanted to do a little bit of history here, and I'll let probably Representative Biasucci talk more about the specifics of the Arizona Starter Home Act. In 1970, shortly after my parents wed, they took out a home loan for a 4-bedroom, 1.5 bath, single-family home totaling 1,456 square feet in a place called South Park Township, which is a suburb of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My parents were in their 20s at the time of the purchase. My mom was pregnant with my older brother, and they moved into my paternal grandparents' house until their house was built about 6 months later. My parents' loan amount was $25,000. The average interest rate on a home mortgage at the time was 8.5%, and interest rates fluctuated to 11.2% in the 70s. Today, that same house is worth more than $225,000. I lived in that same house the first 18 years of my life, and my mom still lives in that same house to this very day. Fast forward to 2001. My husband and I moved to Arizona. We bought our first home together, which was a three-bedroom, 3-bath home with 2,115 square feet for $250,000. I was in my mid-20s and pregnant with my son at the time. Currently, my son and his wife are in the market for a starter home. They have both worked very hard, and neither one of them has any accumulated debt from college. They both have great credit. This year, my son and his wife got married 2 weeks ago, and they were hoping to buy their first home together. My son told me a few weeks ago that their dream to buy a house this year has been dashed. He told me the inventory isn't very good, current home prices are overvalued, and of course, interest rates are further driving the cost of homes so they can get a house together. Today, I stand before you in support of Senate Bill 1229 and the mirror bill in the House, House Bill 2371. The Arizona Starter Home Act would legalize small homes on small lots. The bill would allow the home buyer to choose how they want their home to look, not some government bureaucrat. In today's market, middle class and young families are continually priced out of the housing market. Individuals hoping to buy their first home often don't put a garage as their top priority to buying a house. Yet some municipalities all but require an enclosed garage in the plans. I lived in an HOA for 12 years. Prior to moving to that community, I had read the CC&Rs dictating the color palettes available to paint my house. Today, there are requirements by some municipalities dictating what color you can paint your house to the type of roof you can have. In 2009, my husband and I also built a house in Gila County. Our experience with the county to get our plan to build an A-frame approved took extra months because the decision-making power was in the hands of one government bureaucrat who only came into the office once a week. After many delays, we had our builder drive up to Gila County to greet the employee on the day that they were arriving. We finally got it approved, but it took extra weeks and extra time to get it done. I support the engines of production and creativity. I fully support private property rights. More importantly, our founders did not envision central planning when it came to Americans trying to build their first home. Today, we should be focused on eliminating unnecessary burdens to entry. SB 1229 is a starting point to increase affordable housing for the first-time home buyer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys, and I'll be quick. I just want to talk about a little bit about the bill, about the path forward, and I'm going to have a couple more people say some words. So the bill did pass out of committee in the House side yesterday, 8-2, which is obviously incredible to see that we have even strong support in committee. But I want to kind of talk to the public about what this bill does and doesn't do, because there were some things that were spoken yesterday that were incorrect, and obviously causing some fear, and that happens when there's false information being spoken about something. So this bill, the main purpose is to make sure that the design is figured out. So when somebody builds a home, they should be able to choose what kind of home they want to build. They should be able to choose if they want shingle roof, if they want a picket fence and not a brick wall. And right now what's happening is cities are actually dictating what you can and cannot use on your home. And that is not the American dream. The American dream of owning a home is being able to design it how you like. And we are not removing any safety features. We are still saying that you must abide by fire code. You must abide by the products obviously meeting standards. The setbacks must be the setbacks that are obviously providing safety for the city and the homes around you. None of that is in jeopardy at all. There's talk about fire safety being compromised and public health being compromised. Those are all false. Our bill literally says it in the bill that we will still follow building code, fire code, safety standards. The only thing we're saying here, mainly to the cities, is let the builder choose what they want in their home. If they want a carport and not an enclosed garage, it's their choice. It's their property. We have property rights. All these things that they're requiring are making the house price go up in cost. And what we're saying is let's bring it back down to where a starter home is truly a starter home at the price we're seeing now. There are cities that are doing this already. My hometown of Lake Havasu City, you have actually builders that are doing this on property where they're able to put 5-6 homes that are about 800 to 1,000 square feet on one parcel, passes the code, passes fire code, passes safety code, and those are the only homes in our town that are the 250 range. And they're beautiful homes. They meet everything the buyer wants. They're in demand. They sell out quickly. We need more of that. And so this bill is just saying, let's allow this to happen for our home buyers, our nurses, our police officers, our firemen, really the meat of our population. These are the people that need to get in a home. They don't qualify for any of these incentives from the federal government, these certain loans. These are the ones we need to take care of to make sure they're getting into a home. And it's sad to hear these stories that they cannot afford it because of all the regulations that are coming down. So my whole point is let's cut the red tape, keep the safety in place, which is happening in this bill, and let's do something for what's better for the state of Arizona and for the people of Arizona. So I'm happy to take questions after this, but I'm going to turn it over to a couple more members so they can say a couple comments, and then we'll come back. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Biasucci. As you just heard, we have to give the Arizonans the American dream back. With the last 2 years of my tenure here up at the Capitol, we've only talked about, when we talk about supply, the only supply we see are apartments. Apartments doesn't satisfy the American dream. Home ownership supplies that, gives us the American dream. So this bill will allow us to give that opportunity for all our folks here as a start with many bills that we're going to see here in the next upcoming weeks. So with that, this is a good bill. It starts with the American dream and gives the Arizonans the opportunity to own homes. That's what we should be talking about. Supply and ownership, not rentals. Thank you.
Rep. Cruz.
State Representative Cesar Aguilar. I represent Central West Phoenix, little part of Glendale. In full support of this bill. I'm 29 years old, and my generation, my constituents in the West Valley have told me that affordable housing is the #1 issue that they care about, and many of my constituents cannot find a home to go live in. And in today's time, houses should be looking very different. We've seen a huge decline in enrollment in our public education system, and that's because people within my age are not having children. And so the house should not be looking like what is normal today. We no longer need 3-bedroom rooms for a young couple who is looking to buy a new starter home, and so that's why I'm supporting this bill. I think it's something that is needed, and I know it'll drop down prices. Even on a $400,000 home, down payment on that is about $40,000. My generation doesn't have $40,000 in a bank account to be able to buy a new home. So I think this is a solution that we're looking for to be able to drop prices down and for young people to be able to buy new homes. Thank you.
Councilwoman-elect, would you like to speak?
Thank you. For the record, Ana Hernandez, former state senator for District 24 and councilwoman-elect for Phoenix Council District 7. I stand here in strong support of the Arizona Starter Home Act. When we heard in committee yesterday, and we've heard over the last few years, this framing of local control, that cities should own absolutely control of decisions on how houses are built. And what I would share with everybody is that cities used to build smaller homes. At some point, local control became a thing to disallow the building of starter homes. And we are not affording that opportunity to generations now to become homeowners. As a state senator, I fully supported zoning reform. As an incoming council member to the city of Phoenix, which is the 5th largest city in the country, I'm going to continue to advocate for zoning reform because it is a critical tool we need to onboard more housing units. We are boxing the middle class out. We are boxing the younger generation out of becoming homeowners for this idea that cities should have absolute total control of decisions in the city. I would argue that takes away of control as me as a resident. Why can't I dictate how I want my house to be built? Why can't I dictate where I want to live? So in committee yesterday, the main opposition was coming from the League of Cities and Towns, and the lobbyists in committee said that this bill the only thing this bill does is allow for smaller homes to be built on smaller lots. I don't see an issue with that. The other opposition we heard is coming from mayors of cities that I believe the majority and members of the community that are probably homeowners. So my question to them would be, why is homeownership good for thee but not good for me? And my final, in closing, I would pose a question to my Democratic colleague lawmakers, is that will you join us in supporting tangible action that will create a path for everyone to become a homeowner, or will you continue to side and be a barrier to prevent us to deliver solutions to the thing that was top of line for every person in Arizona, and that is how do I become a homeowner so I can thrive in my community? Thank you.
Lindsay, step up to the podium and spell your first and last name and provide your title.
Spell it? I don't even know how to spell my own last name. I'm Lindsay Rininger. It's Lindsay Rininger, and I am a real estate agent with the Studebaker Group at Compass, Arizona. and probably not quite as eloquent as you guys in speaking because I'm a little nervous. This is more serious of a setting than I'm used to. I've been an agent in the Valley for about 15 years. I know I'm only like 25, so I've seen a lot of change in the last 15 years, specifically in the last 5. When I first started in the business, as everybody else has kind of said, it wasn't uncommon. Teachers, nurses, firefighters, your regular people like me, to buy a house. I actually bought my first house at age 26 for $180,000 in Cave Creek. That house is probably worth about $500,000 now at a 8% interest rate. So I've had recently in the last several years people who have decided to, I guess, get off the fence and get out there, and then they get scared because they can't afford to buy what they want, which is really heartbreaking as somebody who this is their profession. I didn't know a lot about the bill until Kim introduced it to me, and then reading about it, I really do believe that there is a need for more affordable housing for people like me and Kim, who are just regular people trying to buy a house, or the 20-somethings of our generation. I know that a single policy will never change everything, and being in the backside of things and listening to people on the real estate side, everyone's excited about the growth in the Valley. We have hundreds and hundreds of people that are moving here, for different industry, but at the end of the day, if the average house is $550,000, a lot of people just simply can't afford that. So I want to see people in their 20s be able to buy a house like I did. So anyway, I support it. Thanks.
Charisse, go ahead and say and spell your first and last name and provide a title.
My name is Charisse Dickerson. Spelling is Charise. Last name Dickerson. And I am a working single mother, also a college student. I am in full support of this bill because I would love to have my own home. I would love to have a forever home that I can afford. I am currently a college student and a single mother, and I work 4 jobs. 4 jobs to be able to provide for my family, and I still cannot afford a home. To give my babies a place where they can come back in 20 years and say, oh, I grew up in this home. That's like my American dream. I currently rent an apartment, and I'm just giving my money to somebody else with nothing in return. I'm just pay rent every month, and then what is that? I'm just going to stay there until I can afford a home, which is, I'm grateful for my house, but it's not the thing that is my goal. I enrolled myself in college so that I could not work 4 jobs and actually get a degree in something that I love, to not only be able to afford a home, but like I said, not work 4 jobs. So my dream is to be able to own a home. And with the prices, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Can't afford it. Can't even fathom the thought of trying to be able to afford a home right now. And me and my kids actually have, in my closet, we have this little corner, and it's labeled Our Forever Home. And we have decorations. We have little plans that we have for the backyard. We have a garden plan. We have all this little corner so that when we do get a home, we can have that. But I can't if these prices are ridiculous. So I'm in full support of this bill, thankful for everyone fighting for this bill, and I really hope to see some changes, not only for me as a single parent, but for everybody standing here and everybody out there. So thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak before we open it up for questions? Senator Rogers?
Senator Wendy Rogers. Wendy, like the hamburgers, no D in Rogers. Flagstaff. I represent 4 rural counties. I'm from Flagstaff. My 2 biggest cities are Flagstaff and Apache Junction. And the number 1 issue of my constituents in Flagstaff is housing. And I am so for this bill. I have 2 adult kids, 7 grandkids. Housing is the qualifier for upward mobility. And I would say in our nation now, we are entering a golden age. And this golden age will be including the ability to own a home. So rural Arizona wants this bill. Thank you.
Okay, if we want to open it up for reported questions now.
Yeah, and really, before we start this question real quick, I just want to mention 2 things. Our goal is not for this to be a veto again. Our goal is to get something done. this is why we've opened up after yesterday's testimony. We made it very clear to everybody in committee, made it clear to the public. We are open to stakeholder meetings. We're open to hearing everybody out to figure out what's going to work and what isn't going to work. Senator Ortiz and myself and Senator Hernandez, who we met with the governor's office multiple times last year to try to find a solution, couldn't get there. That doesn't change this time around. The whole point is we can't sit here and continue to kick this down the road and say we're going to do something, we're going to do something. We need to do something this year. We're ready to make that happen. We're ready to negotiate, figure out what we need to get there. We already addressed the DOD's concerns that was in the governor's veto letter last year. That's been fixed in this bill. The other issues that she brought up had to do with fire safety, public health, water. Those are already addressed in this bill as well. So those are all things that have been figured out, dealt with. Now we're at a point of just making those final agreements and getting to a point where she can sign this bill and get this passed. So this is bipartisan. Last year, it'll be again this year, and so we're excited to get this finished. So open to questions, and I'll have others answer if we need to. So thank you.
So what changes have been made from last year's bill, and what has been done to kind of address the concerns that the governor raised when she vetoed it?
Sure. So the main concern that we had, and I think we all saw it from the DOD, they sent a letter with their concern about it being near military bases. And we agreed, and it was something we talked about, and we put in the bill to make sure that these homes were not going to be near military installations. So that has been addressed in the bill. She mentioned other things about fire safety, about making sure water, parking, all those things. Those are already addressed in this bill, and we made it very clear in the language, if you read it, that you must follow fire code, you must follow building codes, you must follow parking requirements from the city. All the things that they already do are in this bill. So all those things that were brought up really don't really apply at all in her concerns, because that's already being taken care of. So the main part was the DOD. Are there other things we can fix? Absolutely. And this is why we're going to have stakeholder meetings. I spoke to the governor's office yesterday. They are aware, obviously, of this bill and that the door is open to make this happen. She said it in the State of the State. You guys heard her address. She mentioned affordable housing. So she's there. We just need to get to a point where we get something signed, and the goal is not to get this vetoed.
Okay, now the league is also planning what they're calling their own version of a starter homes bill, which they think hasn't dropped yet. I think it's supposed to be dropping soon. I know when I spoke with them about it, they said smaller lot sizes,
Sure.
fewer design feature requirements, kind of, at least in theory, and similar to what you guys are trying to do. Also, they wanted a requirement, something to ensure that these homes, if those conditions were waived, that they would actually be sold to individuals to be used as single-family homes as opposed to investment or rental properties. I guess, have you spoken with the league, and how close are you guys right now? It sounds like they opposed this yesterday in committee.
Sure. How great is it that the league has their own version? Now they've now recognized we have a problem. So that's promising. I haven't seen language. None of us have seen language. I don't even know if they have a bill sponsor. I'm not sure what's in that bill. Always happy to sit with them and talk to them about what they want or don't want, what they think their language is they want it to look like. We've never been to a point where we're saying we're not going to listen to you. I've always felt that way. I know other representatives behind me have said, look, let's listen to everybody, because everybody's concern is a valid one that we need to listen to. We're going to continue to do that. But until I see that bill, I really don't even know how to comment on that. Hopefully they'll share it with us soon. But it's great to hear that they finally have come to the realization that we need to do something. So promising.
Based on the concerns you've heard from them so far about this bill, do you think there's room for compromise? Is there a way for you all to kind of meet in the middle somewhere on that?
Yeah, look, I'm always open. Anybody that knows me down here, I'm never going to be somebody who's going to say it's my way or the highway. I always listen to everybody, and so I don't know what they want, so I can't say yes or no whether I'm going to agree to it. But I'm always going to listen to see what they want to say, and then we'll figure out as members. We're the ones voting on the bill. We're the ones that are passing the legislation. If we don't have buy-in from these people behind me, nothing matters what they bring or what I bring. So always happy to hear what they have to say, and I'm looking forward to it.
Just to that point.
Yeah,
the
Mr. President.
I just say to that point, you're looking at the compromise. The compromise is up here. This is a bipartisan effort. The League of Cities and Towns they're not lawmakers. And so the compromises have been made, and based off of their motives so far, why on earth would they even want anything to pass with what they've done so far? The hard work has been done by these folks right here. They've struck a compromise. It's bipartisan. It's a good solution. And so I question the motives and whether they're just trying to torpedo a good product that's been put together.
ABC 15 or KTAR? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question, just, and Senator Hernandez touched on this a little bit.
Who do you have the question for? Who'd you listen?
I think the whole group,
Okay,
really.
great.
Just how do you address concerns from current homeowners who, you know, oppose opening this up, opening up building requirements to build more homes? Like, you know, we've seen that, I think we've even seen that in some of the cities where there's some opposition at the real local level, you know, opposing efforts for more apartments and even more homes, citing traffic concerns and things. How do you address those?
So you want to take it?
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Listen, we've had this conversation, and I think let's take it back, right? We know we're in a crisis. We're in a crisis and we need more housing. And right now, the easiest thing to build is apartments. My argument to the folks that oppose a legislation like this that would actually create more homes is, if we only build apartments, like, why is that the solution? Why do you want to box us in into only being renters for our entire lives? Like, that's not fair either. And I think that their opposition and their concerns come from a place of privilege. They are homeowners, and why would you not support something that's going to create a path where other people can also be homeowners? And looking at the bill, we've worked very hard on this bill, right? Like, so many people have put so much effort and hours in writing this legislation. The truth of the matter is that this bill doesn't really impact the most vocal opponents that you heard in committee yesterday. It doesn't impact their neighborhoods, because this bill applies to new developments. So new housing that's being built in areas that are available. So concerns are valid. We are here to listen. Like Representative Biasitri said, like, listen, I'm going into a city office, right? I understand, it would behoove me to advocate for the loss of local control, but I'm here I take my responsibility as a policymaker and elected official seriously, that I need to make decisions on what is the best for everybody in the city of Phoenix, and not just a select few that are looking to oppose legislation from a place of privilege. Hopefully that answers your question.
KTAR, Telemundo, or Phoenix New Times, do you guys have a question before we wrap up?
I have something similar, but I would just ask now, what are next steps? I mean, what should we look out for next on this bill?
Well, I stepped up before that question got asked, so I'm going to answer the one before that because I have that ability. Justin Wilmoth, North Phoenix, LD2. I was in that committee yesterday, and by the way, any vote that gets out of committee 8-2 is pretty awesome. It means there's been some agreement, right? We can agree on that we agreed on an 8-2 vote. So that's very, very important for everybody to understand, because we had Democrats and Republicans nodding our heads at each other on stuff today. You and me especially, we had that moment. And to the question before, the people that talk about how it's going to impact them, I've noticed those people already own houses. Okay, it's real easy to sit there and say that you bought your house in 1974 for $12, and I'm not going to hear these complaints. That's wonderful. I'm glad that you're a part of that generation that had that ability and that flexibility to find a great house at a decent price. That doesn't exist anymore. So we're here to find solutions for the people of this state. And the cities, quite frankly, a lot of those folks, especially the league, play basketball before the shot clock, and they just try to count the game out. And I think that's patently unfair, and we need to do something to find solutions for the people of Arizona, because we're gaining 200 people a day. We have a great economy, we have a great economic environment, we have a great weather environment. People are coming here. That's not going to stop. And as supply and demand shows, you have supply, you've got demand is up here, the price is going to go up because the demand's up here, because everything else about Arizona is so amazing. And until we have that supply, we're not going to get that stuff in concert with each other, and that's really what this is all about.
And I'll talk a little bit about the path, but what was mentioned before about the new developments, I think is very important. We made it sure in this bill that this only applies to new developments over 5 acres. And so you really have to think about that when people are complaining about, you know, this is next to my home. It's hard to find 5 acres, first of all, anywhere in a lot of Arizona, and especially in the big cities. But it's got to be a new development. It's got to be more than 5 acres. And obviously, again, you're following all the building codes, the fire codes. Those are all still in place. So a lot of people obviously are complaining, but they have to recognize we compromised a lot in this bill to put the things that are in there to try to get the votes and make sure that we listen to everybody, which we did. At this point on, we're going to take more stakeholder meetings. We're going to meet with more people, find out what their concerns are, see if we can make it work. But bottom line, we have to do something this year. We have to. This is something we need to get signed by the governor. We need to get everybody on board. So that's going to happen, and I'm hopeful that in the next couple of weeks we'll have those stakeholder meetings and see if we can tweak anything else in the bill to make it where we need it to be to get signed.
And Ballin, the Senate version of this bill goes through committee next week.
Perfect. Any other questions?
I have a quick one.
Sure, real quick.
You mentioned not wanting this, trying to avoid a veto at all costs.
Sure.
If you do see a veto, is this a bill you would consider referring to the voters?
I think my goal is to get to a point to where we can override the veto if that happens. And I think you saw it last year. You saw great support, bipartisan support. I mean, that's all I think that people ask for, right? Down here, you have a lot of partisan stuff, but you've had this last year where you literally had half of each side getting behind this bill. I think people now in this legislature recognize, and again, the governor said it in the State of the State, we recognize we have to do something. I'm hopeful we don't get to the point where she vetoes it. I want her to get on board, and we need to have those conversations with her. Our door is always open for those conversations with the ninth floor. I don't want to get to that point of a veto. But I also, if that does happen, then we need to come back and say, how do we get this to an override? Because we cannot kick this again for another year. We just can't. We're hearing from our constituents. We represent our constituents who are saying, why am I moving an hour away to get a house? Sedona, you've all heard this. I've said this multiple times, that their solution was, well, we're going to let you live in your car at the park down the street. That is absolutely insane. Insane. Think about how crazy that is, that's the solution. So hopefully we'll get to a point where we can get something across the finish line. I'm confident. I know everybody behind me is confident. The people of Arizona are asking for this, so let's deliver. All right, guys. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you.